Section 8.2, solving quadratic equations in what? By quadratic formula. Remember, if the quadratic equation is standard form, that means no parentheses, and you gotta have what? 0 on the right side. So if you have any parentheses, you have to remove it. Put everything on the left side. Make sure you have a 0 on the right side. That's a standard form. Then x, the solution is found by this formula, which is minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. A is the coefficient of x squared, b is the coefficient of x, and c is the constant. So in our case, looks to me, this guy is in a standard form because I have a 0. So looks to me, a is 1, b is -6, c is +8. So all I have to do is just what? Substitute in that formula. So that would be minus what? -6. Is that right? -6 plus or minus square root of -6 squared minus 4a c over 2 times a. Do you see it? So now if you work this out, that would be +6 plus or minus square this guy, which is 36, then multiply these three numbers, which is -32 over 2. So if you simplify furthermore, then you subtract these numbers, you get a square root of 4. So a square root of 4, we know it's 2. So this guy tells you, hey, the answer is 6 plus 2 over 2 or 6 minus 2 over 2. And that will give you what? 8 divided by 2, which is 4. And this gives you 4 divided by 2 gives you 2. So the solutions are either 4 or 2. There you have it. So we got that by what? Quadratic formula. This guy is not in a standard form, so the first thing you do is subtract x, subtract 1 from both sides, so you can have a 0 on the right side. So this is 6x squared minus x minus 1 equals 0. Now you have to identify a, b, c. A is what? 6. B is what? -1. And c is the constant, which is -1. So now you plug those in the formula. So this is -1 plus or minus square root of -1 squared minus 4ac over 2a. So now you gotta work this out. Negative times negative is positive. First you square this guy, you get 1. Then you multiply these three numbers, including the signs. That would give you square what? Positive 24. 2 times 6 is 12. So that will give you, now you add these numbers, you get a square root of 25. Then that's 1 plus or minus 5 over 12. So therefore the answer is what? Either you get 1 plus 5 over 12 or 1 minus 5 over 12. Plus or minus means you have two answers, depending whether you select the plus or minus sign on top. Here you get 6 over 12, which is 1/2. Here you get -4 over 12, which is -1, what? 1/3. Is that right? So just double check. That's -4 over 12, which is -1/3. So the solutions are 1/2. Is that right? And what? And the -1/3. Let's just double check one more time. 6x squared minus x minus 1. So that's plus 1. 1 squared minus 4 times a times c. So that's 1 plus 24, 25. So 2 times 6, that's correct. So 1 plus or minus 5 over 12. That's 6 over 12, which is 1/2. And then what? -4 over 12, correct? Which is -1/3. This guy is in what? Standard form, because you got a 0. A is 1. B is -14. C is +65. So x is negative 14 plus or minus negative 14 squared minus 4 times 1 times positive 65 all over 2 times 1. So that would be like 14 plus or minus, okay, 14 squared, that would give you what? That's like 196, is that right? Then you multiply these three numbers, including the sign, and that would give you 4 times 65, which is 260, and this is all over 2. So that's 14 plus or minus, what do we have there? 260 minus 196. That would give you negative 64 over 2. Because you have a negative under the radical, so that means what? It's a complex number. So that's 14 plus or minus 8i over 2. So the answer is what? Either you get 14 plus 8i over 2 or 14 minus 8i over 2. But if you split this complex number, you get 14 over 2 plus 8 over 2i. Here you get 14 over 2 minus 8 over 2i, correct? If you reduce these fractions to their lowest terms, you get x equals 7 plus or minus 4i. So you get two answers, but they both happen to be complex and they're conjugate of one another. What about this guy? First you subtract what? 11x from both sides. So you get 7x squared minus 11x equals 0. So a is 7, b is negative 11. There is no c, there is no constant. So in this case, x is equal to negative 11 plus or minus negative 11 squared minus 4 times a times c, which is 0, over 2 times a, which is 14, correct? So what do we get? We get 11 plus or minus, I think that's 121, and that's just a 0 over 14. 121 minus 0 is still what? 121, but the square root of 121 is 11. So what you get two answers, 11 minus 11 over 14, and then 11 plus 11 over 14, correct? So now 11 minus 11 is 0, 0 over 14 is 0. 11 plus 11 is 22 over 14, but if you reduce by 2, you get 11 over 7. So what we're saying is x is either 0 or 11 over what? 7. And that's how you do the problems using what? Quadratic formulas, but make sure the problem is in a standard form before you identify your ABC. And don't make any mistake when you're computing the stuff under the radical. Thank you.